Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Wednesday, that means it is Dale KEOWN Day. That means we are looking at the next issue of his Incredible Hulk run from the early 90s, specifically issue 395, cover dated July 1992. Now, fast approaching is Dale KEOWN's exit from Marvel and move over to Image where he will create Pit and have that series go on for a bunch of issues, I think 20, something like that. Not all at Image as we move ahead. Obviously, I have those, so we'll get into more specifics with that when we get there. But with this issue here, it's kind of, again, I talked about this last issue, I think. First of all, we skipped over 394 as it was a fill-in issue. No Dale KEOWN art. Now, had it been kind of something interesting or an interesting artist, I may have done it. I've done that with other runs, like with Mark Silvestri. He's had a few fill-in issues that I thought were still interesting to review, even though he was not the artist. Did not do that with Hulk. It wasn't, I don't, want to shit on anyone, but just not an artist who interested me personally. So we just skipped over that to 395. And obviously this is a fun issue because it guest stars the Punisher, as you can see on the cover here. And yeah, the tandem of Mark Farmer inking over Dale KEOWN's pencils is really starting to gel, in the last few issues. And it works really well here. And what I feel is like, he's in closer up shots and stuff like that and pin-up stuff, Mark Farmer staying truer to the pencils maybe, or just being a little tighter over those pencils, which I feel is what happened on the cover here. It is inked by Farmer, not just KEOWN on his own, and it's pretty darn convincing as to create maybe the illusion that KEOWN had inked this himself. I think it's pretty close. Maybe some of the inking up here, not so much, has more of a Dan Pinosian kind of feel here in an odd sense, for at least his inking back there, the kind of thicker lines for the hatching and stuff. Now, just cover design, very clever. I don't know if this is in reference or some sort of riff on the whole McFarlane cover of the Hulk where Wolverine's got his claws out and you can see the Hulk's reflection there. I don't know if this has been referenced before. I'm sure there's been a shot somewhere. This is an homage or something to a cover from the past. But, most people may have just, thrown in the glasses and the nose and the reflection of the character and all that. But I think he was clever enough. I think it's a good move, Not everyone would do this, is to bring the glasses down as if, he's kind of the angle, the eyes kind of looking over the glasses, right? The eye of the Hulk. So that creates even more kind of tension and interesting elements there. It's a very kind of pyramid kind of composition, I guess you could call it. And to have, the shots of the Punisher here that we see in the reflection, all that's very clever, obviously. And busting through the glasses here and then through the hat is an extra kind of element, and through the logo here, which is pretty cool, anytime you can interact with the logo in an interesting way, I appreciate that. Marvel production, though, at this point, the finish of the cover is still a bit muddy, just a little bit, just a little bit blurry and out of focus. And they got the top right this month, but on the right, they just cut off here, and I know for sure it wasn't cropped that way, even with the logo. You can assume, right, like just symmetry and stuff, if you guys out there who draw and create logos and measure stuff, because if you draw, you're measuring a lot, right, with your eye, sometimes with your fingers, literally, when you're producing art. The space you would have here logically would be about the same space where the K ends and the edge of the sheet, right? See, like this line here on my desk, like it would go to about there. So there's definitely some issues in production there. I don't know if Dale KEOWN's aware of this, but like smartly, I think this probably continued. Like you might have the whole part of the sunglass here is one half of a pair of sunglasses, a sunglass. I'll just call it that. So the sunglass here, I'm sure he probably finished off in the original art, but it's been cropped a bit and even cut off a bit. So yeah, production's still doing shitty stuff on the covers, but not in the interior. So we're going to have a look at that. Great cover though, I think. And, announces the guest star pretty overtly, and it's fun to see Dale KEOWN drawing the Punisher. It looks pretty good on the cover here. There'll be some odd stuff on the inside, though. We'll talk about it as we get there. You'll notice once again, lots of use of screen tone, which he kind of, forgoes when he moves over to Image and starts doing Pit, which, I don't know how great it would have looked on Pit. Never really seen it. I mean, when we get there, I might be surprised to find that there's still maybe in the early issues or something, some use of it, but I really like how it's used in these later Incredible Hulk issues. He uses more and more of it. There's a lot on the side of this dead guy's face here. Was there more in this here? Not the specific image. Yeah, there's a bit right here on whatever kind of clothy material this is. And kudos to Dale KEOWN for the background here. All this intricate kind of work, church glass work and stuff is very interesting. Like I'm not quite sure if he did that or if it's a production thing, but you know, he has a stat, or he maybe used a light box or something. I'm not sure, but it looks great. Really works. And his character is always great, right? A little bit cartoonier with the side characters, which I enjoy. Bit of a McFarlane vibe there. And again, I've mentioned this before in this series, at least in Incredible Hulk, he's still giving us tons of panels and interesting storytelling. Layouts are getting a little more designy in 90s, which is cool. So, I mean, the setup with the Punisher, you see the white glove, so you kind of know it's him, and you've seen him on the cover and stuff. But I just got to say, I like all the screen tone, right? Here's where I said there's a lot more on her face here. This is kind of John Byrne-ish still, right? Little callbacks to the John Byrne influence in his art every once in a while. I got to point it out. That's very John Byrne. But yeah, around the eyes here. But like usually Dale Keown's pretty dead on with anatomy and expression and stuff. Here, I feel the eyes are just too far apart. And even the way he drew the pupils, it almost looks like Frank Castle's kind of wall-eyed, and it looks odd to me. And I feel like Frank Castle needs more sideburn. Maybe it's the way John Romita Jr. drew him, but yeah, I just kind of off model here and looking a little wall-eyed and a little bit retarded. This has got to be some sort of stat or something in the picture and just darkened out the areas, you know, you don't want to draw, but it's still very effective, very graphic. I like it. His depiction of Vegas is funny. I think he's using a lot of photo reference, and probably this is light boxed and stuff, which is fine. I think he does a great job of it. I don't know how the coloring does, though. It's all right, but it doesn't really convey, if you've ever been to Vegas, like the actual, you know, overload of color and light and stuff when you get there. Kind of like the speed of light and stuff. The way this scene is lit, kind of in this panel here, I think is really pretty awesome and just simple and clever and works really well. Not quite sure why all of a sudden did the lights go out, or I don't believe so, or the lights are out while they're talking or something. But yeah, there's something about the coloring to this page which is just spot on with a bit of shading, and again, the screen tones that he's using here. There's another screen tone here. There's another one there. This is jam-packed with awesome screen toneness. And I mean, we're pretty much in Pitland, pretty darn close. Like I said, more of these kind of money shots and close-ups, I think, is where Mark Farmer's being truer and closer to the pencils. And then some of the faraway shots, he's maybe has a bit more of artistic license, or maybe Dale Keown hasn't fleshed things out quite as much in the pencils. But you know, you've got your money shot of the Hulk here, looks great, and all the screen tone on the suit I think works really well. Again, I'm you know, really pushing that screen tone look, because I think at least in these issues, I guess with his style of art, with the printing, all of that, just kind of coalesce for a really cool look. Another, like once again on the hand here, just to kind of pull it into the dark foreground as opposed to the light background, right? Very cool. Basically monochromatic, right? Other than the bit of flesh tone here, maybe that's a miss. Like their heads are okay, because there's that's so this plane is colored, this plane is colored. I get what he was going for there, and then you know these background characters are blue to pull them forward again in opposition to the background. That's all color stuff, right? The colors is doing that. The monochrome kind of idea to pull things into one plane, right, is very interesting. All these characters in the foreground are kind of bluish and light blue and dark blue, but you know, all blue, where the Hulk is colored literally, I guess, more so than these other guys. Works really well. Some more cool kind of layout stuff that he's doing here and moving stuff around, the vertical 90s panels. Dale Keown's always very good at hands. I don't know if I specifically pointed this out, but yeah, like expressive hands and hands doing things. And you know, I mean, even at this point, it's maybe a little bit cartoonier, a little more energetic and 90s and image and extreme, but his artwork is already pretty, when it comes to anatomy, is pretty much on point here. He exaggerates things and makes them, like I said, a little more dynamic and moving, but it's already all here. I just feel like he's gotten tighter on the anatomy now with his like more recent stuff, which is mostly covers and pinups, right? I don't know of any sequential comics that he's done recently. If you do, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. Another great page here, I think, where he meets this gentleman who's kind of like another version of the Hulk. This is Meet Frost, my right-hand man, another big, strong guy, basically, right? And all the cross hatching mixed in with the screen tones here is just, like I said, the height of what I think was cool about Dale Keown on the Hulk here. We're getting a lot of it in this issue. This vertical panel here, like you could just slide that into Pitt, the hatching here. Another kind of panel where inking really is being super true to the pencils, I think. These two here, especially this close-up here, right? That's the kind of inking you're going to see on Pitt. I think the screen tone looks so cool here. He's almost like Terminator. Almost like O.J. Simpson Terminator, right? You guys know that O.J. Simpson was considered to be the Terminator before Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Some of you know that. If you didn't know that, yeah, that actually happened. Interesting, right? How things turn out. Great kind of standoff shot here. See the girth of both gentlemen. And by that I mean their body, right? Backgrounds, again, not enough credit to Dale Keown. He's, you know, here it's pretty simple, basic, some skylights and stuff, but it really makes the page more interesting with a few simple kind of ideas, right? It doesn't take forever to get these backgrounds done, and they're simple and effective, you know, in relating the setting. He's very economical and smart with his backgrounds. Whether or not that carries over to Pitt, I guess we'll see in the coming months. Some of it does, I think, but then there's other scenes where they take place, like, understandably on spaceships and stuff. He can kind of just more make things up in technology, and, you know, like Kirby invented Kirby tech, and, you know, everyone has a version of sci-fi tech, I guess you could call it, right? Most every artist has kind of a way they like to do it, or they feel they want to do it. Different versions of that. So there's that, and a lot of fighting in open spaces and deserts and stuff. Kind of like that last Flash movie. So weird. The battle happens out in the desert where there's no innocent people. Yeah. I don't know why I brought that up there, but yeah, that's what it made me think of. More great hatching, right? I love the way he kind of creates that reflection in the glasses here, just in pen and ink. It's very fine detailed and very interesting and convincing, I would say. A little bit of a coloring snafu where his teeth are green. Those are always funny. Some more monochrome kind of stuff here. Coloring, right? Orange here against the blue backdrop. Basic complementary colors, right? Works really well. Something just reddy, kind of purpley hues here. Yeah, the coloring is pretty cool. Pretty on point. So they're waiting here, I guess, with the ladies. What ends up happening, I guess, to break away from the more frenetic pace of the Hulk adventures. You know, as an artist, he's breaking it down to more panels, and they're a little bit more pedestrian, right? Obviously not the kind of action and dynamics that the Hulk is seeing right now. It's more kind of an interpersonal relationship kind of scene, right? Between Rick and his mother, who he's estranged from. And he's, you know, the mother's kind of warmed her heart, excuse me. I think I'm trying to say two things at once. Wormed her way into the lives of his girlfriend and Betty Ross, right? The Hulk's girlfriend, and they're trying to getting them to get together and mend fences or whatever. That's what this is all about here. And then we get back to Vegas. I did want to mention when I got here, I think there's a few, in reviewing this, there's one here, right? This limousine is hilarious. Dale Keown is not spending more than 10 minutes on this car here. And it kind of shows. I mean, it's definitely serviceable within the story and stuff, but oh my God, like, just, yeah, this is like from a picture and light boxed. So maybe this is light boxed limousine. I don't know, but it just looks really funny. Maybe it is. And sometimes that's the thing, even though you want something to look realistic, it didn't quite line up with the angle of everything else, or he forced it to when he was doing like the perspective grid and stuff. Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but not the greatest limousine. Everything else is great, so I'm not shitting on Dale Keown. He's a great artist, just didn't spend so much time in the limo. And there's a few more vehicles I'll point out. This kind of shot here, the Hulk kind of coming up. Pretty damn sure this is a reference to Terminator, right? I'll be back. So point that out. In the early 90s, this would still be a fairly fresh, fairly recent reference that most people would understand at that point, right? They've seen the movie. I, as a kid, had seen the movie. Played on TV probably at that point. The video store was, you know, still around. Yeah, good kind of breakdown here on the page of storytelling. Still interesting, and this is obviously, you know, maybe more of a boring part of the Punisher's kind of mission against crime here. Just kind of doing some observation work on what I assume are these guys here. That he's like, are these guys mobsters? He's not quite sure, right? And the reason the Pantheon guys here who are with the Hulk, like the whole kind of 1930s look, not sure I'm into that, but that's what's going on. So yeah, so we're talking about vehicles. Here's another great example of Dale KEOWN putting minimal effort and just trying to get it done. His faces are great. The car sucks. It just makes me laugh. I'm not saying I would do any better. I might do the same thing. So we've gone through kind of the B and C stuff. Back to the Hulk. In that Austin. Actually, it's not so bad here. In the limousine in Vegas. You know, he's back to his old kind of Mr. Fix-It haunts, right, when he was the Gray Hulk. Yeah, I'm just not sure of this choice of like 1930s kind of mafia stuff. Is it some sort of Jack Kirby reference, maybe? I know, you know, when Kirby would do stuff in the 60s and 70s, he still kind of drew 1930s, 1940s looking gangsters, right? Which is kind of fun. And it's Kirby, so he can do it. But to do it now in the 90s as kind of a current artist, I'm assuming that's Peter David's kind of script and choice rather than Dale KEOWN's. Great screen tone here. Once again, going to point out all the great screen tone. And we get our money shot, our pin-up here of the Punisher. Take out the word balloon. It's a great poster. Only kind of problem is they... Excuse me, just bump the camera. I'll fix that. This kind of shadow they threw on top here, I find just very odd, especially like it just obscures the Punisher's kind of main attribute, which is his skull logo here. Like it kind of works. The gloves are white, right? Because the gloves are white, they were trying to give it kind of a darker look, which I totally understand. And they added some here and it created some mores actually. So not so great there. Works here on the boots here. Looks great, right? With the kind of halo of the white. We get it. The halo of the white should not have continued here, right? The colors kind of fucked this up a little bit. This should have been the light blue you kind of see everywhere else, right? And whatever happened here is not in the pen and ink. I guess there's some sort of implied shadow from some of the hatching that we can barely see underneath in the pencils and the inks. But there's no reason. This should be all white is what I'm saying. This whole, you know, section here, take out this stuff and just make that all white. You can keep the darker kind of, you know, tones that you got going here. They look fine. Maybe fix that if you could. Even if this was blue and this was all white, that would look great. But yeah, it kind of annoys me because it's a really great illustration. Really awesome. The background here, the effort in the background is insane. You know, all this kind of 90s, you know, audio visual material, still got the reel-to-reel, which is funny. That would go away pretty fast. I mean, it's still around. Some people use it, but you know, the idea that was cutting edge technology at that point, not so much anymore. Pre-digital, right? I like the way he does the panels here. The action gets more intense. It's very left to right, which is okay because you got that repetitive element of the Hulk moving forward, which is, I assume now we're kind of within the scene the cover depicts, right? And Punisher throws a grenade. The Hulk kind of holds it in his hand, explodes in his hand. That's a pretty cool little sequence. And I feel like as we get near the end of the issue, maybe not so much the Punisher here. I think the inking here, honestly, really, really, you know, exudes Dale KEOWN line work. Not so much on the Hulk. Something goes kind of odd here, and maybe it's more interpretive. Maybe Dale KEOWN didn't flesh him out as much as I've talked about before. Got the Dale KEOWN spittle there between the teeth. Favorite of his. It's a pretty cool kind of breakdown of the scene, I gotta say. Like using one panel, 3 smaller panels, shards, I guess, you know. The sequence is easy, to follow. Obviously, you're going in this direction. You know, the way the arm comes out from what happens here, you know, that's your eye naturally is going to go to the hand here. All of that is a pretty good sequence. This guy even kind of lays it up for you where it's like, whoop, right? This kind of movement here towards there. Great storytelling. That's what you're looking for, right? Sending your eye in the right direction always. As much as possible. Unless that's not the effect you're going for and you're trying something opposite. That's cool too. Something weird here. Not quite sure what he was going for, where her head actually pops out here, and like he's looking at the picture, right? And I feel like this is, you know, maybe the actual moment, like we're back in time for half a second or something. But it's just, yeah, it's a little ambiguous as to why it's actually like that. So just find a little jarring in the sequence. And this is Rick just kind of, again, refusing his mom's, just get away from me, right, is what he says. I don't know what this is all about, but just keep away. So he's not into his mom there. And this last page, I think, has a bit of deadline-itis in the sense that up here feels pretty close to some very simple Dale Keown kind of illustrations. And then down here, the face is pretty good. But these shots here are just, yeah, not quite up to the usual kind of Dale Keown standards. And they look a little bit different. They're not horrible, I wouldn't say that. But, yeah, probably not quite as detailed near the end of the issue on his pages, and the inker had to pick up a little bit of slack here between the two. But hey, that's Monthly Comics, and that's fine. He's still one of my faves and a great artist. So there you go. That is my review, guys, of The Incredible Hulk issue 395. If you have any thoughts, comments, answers to my questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like something, let me know. If you don't like something, let me know. Help me out with pronunciation. I do want to mention a lot of people have been helping me out. I've been reading the comments and replying as well. So thank you for those who are helping out with any questions I might have. If you're a regular subscriber, thank you for still being there and sticking around and watching the videos. I really appreciate it. If you're watching the videos but you're not subscribed yet, please do so. It's really quick for you. It takes no time at all. Really helps the channel out. Helps get us out there to other like-minded people who are into the same thing, same things that we are, namely comic books. So everyone who's been watching, thank you, and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.